Okay, and welcome back. So we're going to be looking at the completing the square algorithm, and we're going to do two examples. The first example is going to be one where we have a coefficient of 1 for the leading term. So that would be the x squared term. And then we'll do a second example where it's anything but 1. So it'll be like a fraction or a negative number or even an irrational number. So like I said in the concepts video, there are certain situations where you would use the completing the square algorithm. That would be when you're solving quadratic equations, and the other one is when you're either graphing or you're doing substitution when you're integrating for calculus students. In all situations, essentially the mechanics of this algorithm have to do with adding 0 and simplifying. And if you're going to be solving for a quadratic equation, that would be the last thing you do is just solve for x. So the mechanics of completing the square really just boil down to three things if you're solving for a quadratic equation. That means you're trying to find the roots of a quadratic equation. That's adding 0 cleverly, simplifying, and then solving for x. If you're only graphing or doing substitution, then all you're really doing is just the first two. That'd be adding 0 cleverly and then simplifying, and then you'd be done. But this video will be biased towards people that are learning this for the first time. So with that said, let's say you were given a quadratic equation that looked like this. So notice that there is an equal 0 on the left side of the screen and there isn't on the right. Both sides of the screen I'm going to work out. The left side will be the one you could just use for every situation, and the one on the right essentially is going to be one where you're doing everything on one side of the equal sign, okay? So to make this really clear, I'm actually going to write the zeroing even though you don't need to, but you'll see what's happening as I go through the problem. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is add 0 to the equation very cleverly by moving the 7 over to the other side of the equal sign and adding our plus blanks. But on the right side, we're going to do everything on the left side of the equal sign, like this. Okay, and both are actually identical. I think the one on the right is a lot easier to see that you're actually just adding and subtracting the same number. On the left side, you are doing that. You're just moving the negative blank to the right side. Okay, so the next step is to take the coefficient in front of the x term, which in this case it's -8. We're going to divide it by 2 and then square it, like this. Then let's simplify it. Okay, so now instead of putting 16 in both blanks, we're going to put -4 a quantity squared in the first blank and 16 in the second, like this. What this will do is eliminate any confusion of what goes in the binomial term that gets squared, which is the next step. Okay, so the next thing you're going to do is just drop the x over here and the -4 over here, and we're going to put it in the set of parentheses at the bottom like this. So now you see why I don't write the 16 on the left side. It just makes it so that way you have a less chance of getting that wrong, because some people actually will put 16 down there, or whatever the number that got squared is. Next, just simplify what's on the right side of the equal sign. In this case here, -7 plus 16 is just going to be a +9. But on the right side of the screen, that's going to be a -9. So for the right side, you're essentially done. This would be your f of x. And just for completeness, you'd have a horizontal shift of 4 to the right and a vertical translation of 9 down. Okay, so on the right side, we're done. But we still need to solve this quadratic equation, so we're just going to continue working the problem. So the next step would be to take the square root of both sides. Okay, so I drew that plus or minus sign really big because that's a typical mistake most students make. Alright, so now we just simplify. Okay, so I just dropped the parentheses. There's no need to write them down anymore. We're going to move the 4 to the other side now. Okay, and we're almost done. Now we have two solutions. 4 plus 3 is one answer, and 4 minus 3 is the other. So therefore, our answers are x equals 7 or x equals 1. And that's pretty much it. The only thing I guess I could add would be on the right side of the screen, if you wanted to know what the vertex of that graph was, it would be 4, -9. And if there's any aspiring math majors out there at this point right here, the same answer can be written as the absolute value of x minus 4 is equal to 3. But I'm not going to write that in. Okay, and there you have it. So the next example is going to be one where the coefficient of the x squared term is not 1, but it's something else. And another thing too, at this step over here now, if you wanted to go through the same steps on the left side to use for graphing, you could just move the 9 over to the other side, right? And you'd end up just like this over here. But if you don't mind, I'm just going to erase these little blue arrows. Alright guys, so I hope you found this helpful. So let's work on the next problem. Otherwise, good luck with your homework and tests in the future, and thank you for watching.